by mistake, maybe on purpose, I don't know. Plasma and suppression of divine, I'm trying to get through this fast. If I'm going too fast, just someone say to slow down. Plasma and suppression of divine feminine magic. Shiva is pure still consciousness, and Shakti is the dynamic creative energy that moves through it to form and animate the universe. Plasma, you think of is Shakti. Consciousness is more like Shiva. Patriarchal systems favored stillness, order, and rationality, and I'm not saying that's wrong, but we also need feminine, and it's been severely suppressed, the wild, fluid, chaotic, intuitive, emotional force of Shakti. That is why when we were all children, we got in trouble for playing, because no one's used to our raw, wild energy, and we all suppressed it. Sophia, the lost wisdom, the living ether. In Gnosticism, Sophia is a feminine figure, analogous, I don't know how to say that word, to the human soul, but also simultaneously was one of the feminine aspects of God. Sophia was violently removed from mainstream Christianity. Asherah poles symbolizing the feminine god were torn down. Her stories were hidden or destroyed because she made humans powerful from the inside out, and she connected people directly to source without priests. Sophia is plasma. It is wisdom, it is feeling, it is conscious memory imprinted on the plasma field, which creates the field of information, which is not just numbers, it is more than that. Feeling into information, like a plasma, ionized gas. When you feel or sense into this information field with wisdom versus logic, you uncover hidden information or intelligence. Open and sense first and apply logic second. Marty Spiegelman, she was at Harvard for a while. She said this beautiful thing, and this is like shamanic wisdom she was speaking of. In the olden days, they talked about logic second, and you can't get the raw information of any human or thing if you're applying logic first. It's almost like you kind of siphon off the feeling and the essence. So it's about opening first to things and then applying your logic to it. Because some things are just experienced. This will open you up to new realities in a myriad of different ways. And these all are kind of just symbols to seep into your subconscious. Think about your own. The veil, okay. I won't go into that, sorry. I over-explain, I know. Discovery of the innerverse. Reality may contain plasma activity we don't perceive directly. A finer, multidimensional plasma is within this matter, or mother, right under our noses, with the ability to contain entire other worlds or timelines. This is basically why we can do all this stuff, is the vehicle for consciousness. And our consciousness has the ability to travel into this by going within matter instead of exploring outwards. Like one example, which once again isn't wrong, it's just unbalanced, is we're so obsessed with going to space. What about going inside the earth more? We're giving all this for a reason. Ascension, what about expansion? It's just unbalanced. I have a throat tick, hold on. Sorry. Okay, sorry guys. A co-creative plasma reality. Our reality is relationship-based, and at the center of that is our consciousness, our resonance, which is up to us. What will benefit us the most is to study how to be in relationship with reality using our consciousness. The more we learn to create with reality, the more magical reality becomes, and we will be pleasantly surprised. Plasma wants us to listen. It does not want to be caged or controlled. It wants to be harmonized with. And as we learn to do this, more will be revealed. When Dr. Patrick Van Rys reframed plasma, he described it as particles interacting together as quasi-particles rather than isolated objects or solid particles. And this is a guy with a PhD, which I don't have, but I think I do secretly. He's basically describing a finer plasma. Math, physics, and even information theory, are shadows of a deeper reality that is plasmatic, living, and oscillatory field in which meaning, consciousness, intelligence, and information emerge, pertaining to the state of one's consciousness, interacting with what I call, this gets a little bit jumbled, but a plasma spheral. Think of just our reality as holographic, neutral, and has these little pixels, like pixels on a TV, but they're living. We're not in a computer. They're shape-shifting, and they're just like those quasi-particles that can actualize into anything. It makes up our reality like a plasma TV screen. Each thing or person in reality is surrounded by a plasma bubble as well. This is why everything holds memory, why a psychic can access memories through objects. They hold conscious imprints, but may not be conscious themselves. But I'm sure consciousness runs through everything. Plasma makes up 3 layers of what I call reality: 3D, 4D, and 5D. And this has been reflected in many religions, many mythologies, which are organizational perspectives of consciousness that I call dimensions. Each wherein plasma has different behaviors. This is different than infinite realities, which many of you may call dimensions, or infinite timelines. So there's 3 different things there. So yeah, everything kind of boils down to this, which I don't think is material, so I don't know how we'll study it in science, but potentially, I don't know. And then I kind of see 5D as more like a flower of life. 4D is kind of what makes up our energy field. This is where, what holds our trauma, our ancestry. This is out of time and space completely. And then 3D, plasma, solid reality, lightning, things like that. To summarize this part, I posit a finer plasma also makes up 99.9% of invisible matter, as above, so below. And this invisible matter interacts with our consciousness to create reality. That also makes sense to me. I also believe that these 4 and 5D densities of plasma show up as dark matter and dark energy in science, which are vastly misunderstood and mischaracterized. And I have more proof for that in a moment, because I thought it was crazy when I thought that at first. Science and math are uncovering revolutionary new dynamics, patterns, and behaviors, especially in plasma physics, but most effort goes towards applying this to commercial technologies and AI, reinforcing dependence on external tools rather than applying the patterns as wisdom to understanding our original technology, human consciousness, and our energy field. Your energy field is what I call 4D plasma. Well, I'm not against AI, I'm just trying to rebalance here. The study of the science of higher consciousness is about learning to work with this deeper plasma field internally, so technology becomes a supportive balance, not a replacement, and life becomes deeper, more meaningful, and aligned with why we're here in the first fucking place. The science of higher consciousness is interchangeable with quintessence and metaphysical science applied to the human soul. Higher is not meant to be hierarchical, it's just inferring an expanded, overarching viewpoint. I don't know what the hell I'm saying there. Multidimensional plasma. Sorry if this is a little repetitive, but we'll get to more fun things. So plasma, its expanded definition, is the multidimensional, sentient, living fabric of reality that is the vehicle for consciousness, information, and intelligence. It explains telepathy. It explains when you die, you don't die. It explains a lot. It may not be directly observable because it is not matter or material reality, it is immaterial. It is the stuff that makes up our dreams, our subconscious, our emotions. Think about when you dream, what are those pixels made out of? That's not matter, but you're seeing something visual. It's made out of this. This together with consciousness creates reality in a myriad of ways, including the different dimensions, timelines, and realities. I call this plasma consciousness synergy. It is basically what I think space-time, gravity, and even particles emerge from. So let's say I was to be right about this, and I know this sounds really crazy. If we all, at the same time, were to believe on Earth that we can actually fly, and believe it like actually though, because we don't, so this probably won't happen anytime soon, look what I'm saying, that would happen because our collective consciousness creates space-time, which is why we keep discovering new things in science, because reality is alive and evolving. It's not because we're discovering new things. It's like kind of more of a feedback. So if we all believe that, that would kind of emerge more into space-time too, which is why when more people believe things, they start to happen more and more. Makes sense again? That's one of the wildest things I'll say. Plasma versus consciousness. Plasma is the fabric, consciousness is the weaver. There are perspectives of consciousness that weave plasma differently. 3D, 4D, 5D. I'll go into it a little more too. And I go into it in my book a lot more. This is why I wrote a 700-page book. Plasma changes in density. Consciousness changes in perspective. It is the point of view looking through plasma, aka the same world from different floors of the building. Think of yourself as a bubble of plasma consciousness interfacing with outer plasma reality. So some examples, 3D consciousness, 3D plasma. I'm in this body, the world is solid and separate. 4D consciousness in the, sorry. 4D consciousness and 3D plasma. This is, I see my emotions, my trauma, my patterns are shaping reality. But you know, you're working through your shadow, you're still in your physical life. Me, dating the same kind of guy 5 different times. That's not bad. There's that one. And laughing at myself, because none of us are perfect, even though I'm saying all this stuff. 5D consciousness and 3D plasma would kind of be like, I'm the higher self having a human experience. I'm rooted in unity, neutrality, and love. Would love to be like that all the time. That is not the case. But I try my best, and I think all of us do. And we're human. We don't need it. Basically, all of these are okay, is what I'm trying to say. You don't need to be this evolved being every fucking moment of your life. Yes. You're supposed to be a kid and play and make mistakes and date the wrong people. But then learn from it and stop. Okay, 4D plasma, 4D consciousness. This would be astral projection, lucid dreaming, archetypal realms, emotion, it becomes environment. That doesn't make sense. 5D consciousness and 5D plasma is like moments of bliss. You probably have had this, you're in your pure being. You're visiting your higher self. Like, it's just, it doesn't feel like you're in your body. It's a little bit more just so you kind of understand my little framework. 3D consciousness. If you're in this, you're focused on physical reality, linear time logic. You know, this is when we're all having our little tantrums. 4D consciousness, you begin to realize your role as an observer. You interface with plasma as more of an emotional and symbolic realm, a story-like world. Our dreams are here, trauma is stored here. It's a liminal space that needs healing, but it has great power. This is where our magic is, which has been demonized. But, you know, demon is also a daemon, which is your inner genius. And they've messed that up. And then 5D consciousness is multidimensional awareness. You remember who you are. Consciousness is heart-centered. It feels, I feel like you guys know this, but it feels beyond time, beyond duality. You flow with plasma harmoniously. That's probably why all our higher selves are like just actualizing things up there. That we cannot do that here, but maybe we are doing that faster, I think. Reality is more fluid than we think. 5D consciousness and 3D plasma feels like magic because we're not pushing against reality anymore. We're in flow, and we can do that. I'm sure all of you have been in flow. By working intelligently with 4D emotional pathways instead of reacting to them, we'll have a higher vantage point. Hopefully that makes sense. I don't know. You're able to, basically when you're in this vibe, you're able to adjust your sails or your wings or your biofield based on feeling and presence rather than planning, logic, or forcing. Like for instance here, if you're more in flow, you're just gonna resonate and flock to the right people instead of planning your whole day out and going rigidly to that schedule. And that's how life works too. In some mysterious, non-scientific way, reality does change when you act from this perspective. I cannot prove that, but when you are in flow, reality is magic. You are in conversation with something, you can feel it, and life is more alive. It even can look more vivid. Sometimes everything even seems to breathe and sparkle. Reality does shift over time or over many different choices, or sometimes only one, if we're lucky or not lucky. 4D plasma, informational medium. So I kind of want to talk about this a little bit because a lot of us have scary paranormal experiences. I, for half my life saw demons. I also had horrendous trauma I didn't work on. And these same demons that used to visit me when I was a kid, the memories I have of them now are these beautiful, benevolent beings because I healed a lot of my inner child. And this is the same energy visiting me, but now it's these like beautiful holographic energies. So my point is, a lot of this things we're interfacing with, this energy has to do with healing ourselves, which is perfect. If you wanted to evolve humanity, this is how you would do it, in my opinion. So, 4D plasma, informational medium. It is not conscious itself, in my opinion. It holds imprinted consciousness or information. It is a vehicle for consciousness to come through, almost like wearing a costume or cloak. So think about like your higher self wants to come give you a message. It's going to come through your 5D. It's going to come through this 4D thing and kind of put on this costume. Whatever you've been doing that week, it might look like that. It might look like something you believe in. It might look like a dakini if you practice a certain religion, or an angel. These things are coming through as a myriad of different archetypes. And I won't go into this now, but there's I think I go into this later, shit. But you know, there's ways to figure out, like, is it your higher self? Is it another being of consciousness? Is this a traumatic memory coming to me as a demon? Because it reminds you you're in power. You're not being haunted. You're not going to be taken over. Like, you have fucking control of the energetic realm. And people that tell you you don't want your money. I know I want your money too because I'm selling my book, but I have to make a living. But I try to not do as much. We can all heal ourselves, but sometimes we need a healer, right? But we can all heal ourselves. Okay, sorry. I love healers too, though. Okay, it is always information. It responds, it does not decide. This is the communicative clay us and our higher selves use to create realities. Picture it's in the middle, it's intelligent clay, and we're both molding it. It's going to be easier to mold when we're working with our higher self. Or really just, your like inner child that's evolved into wisdom. You can call 5D God, higher self, anything, I don't care. The key is it's a personal relationship to you. I cannot tell you anything about it. Only you can figure that out for yourself. Your personal magic is yours. When people all give frameworks on what to do, the reason it works is because you believe it works. So make up your own magic and take from me if something works for you. So you create your own magic. 4D speaks in the form of story, mythology, emotion, numbers, and holds all potential past, present, and futures based on your current resonance. It pulls from your subconscious and the collective unconscious. This can be the heaven or hell that creates your personal experience. We are currently collectively healing this layer because we've demonized it forever, the collective unconscious, and as it heals and evolves, we're starting to see it more visually, which I'm sure many of you are, in our day-to-day life. As our relationship strengthens with it, with our own remembrance, trust, and love. So this is why we're having more visual paranormal experiences. It's appearing in front of us, and we're not crazy, most of us. We're probably all. But if information is not foundational, who or what originates intelligence? Okay, more about the 4D. That was just a question. I wanted to pause it. I was supposed to say that way better. Let me do that again. If information is not foundational, who or what originates intelligence? That sounded weird. Okay, the underworld. The underworld. So, for the longest time, and I'm part Native American, so this is, I think, the Chumash Native Americans, talked about the underworld and underneath here, and they were very right about it, but I think we have to move this back into the middle and give it a rebrand. So the underworld is the emotional, symbolic interface between humans' consciousness and higher intelligence. The same way a woman transmutes and carries a spirit into a child, plasma carries consciousness. The divine feminine is within us all and the key to our creation magic. And we need to remember that it is in the middle, not to be demonized anymore, or else we'll perpetuate that forever. It became demonized because it couldn't be controlled, capitalized on, empowered individuals from within, required self-accountability. Institutions basically called it hell and then said, come to us, instead of reach these gods yourself. And when the truth is that this layer is the key to intercommunication, subtle power, and magic. The mystery, my favorite. Many thinkers today propose that information is the base layer of reality, that the universe is computational. I'm not saying that that's not a truth somewhere in our reality, but we're definitely, in my opinion, not in a fucking computer. It very much feels, that's copied from us. We make things reflecting us. And it's just reflecting like 90% of us, and then the other 10% is this magical intuition, beautiful essence rainbow that it will never make in technology. Okay, so, sorry. It very much feels like, what am I saying? Okay. It very much feels like it when we live off repeating, it feels like we're on a computer, when we live off repeating patterns of trauma, synchronicities, rules of reality that we thought were unbreakable. But all of that is just our collective agreements based on our current consciousness. That makes complete sense. We're in our own cage. We're the birds in our own cage. And once we heal this information, this 4D layer, we will realize that it's not a gatekeeper or a demon or a Cerebrus, whatever the three-headed dog is. It is a daemon, a guardian, a tool we can use to shift reality. It is usable for our benefit. whether that means creating a new life for ourselves individually or collectively, and it can be applied in science, psychology, etc. We're not inside a machine, we're inside a living field, the flower of life. Code and numbers are one expression of the field of information, but so is story and emotion. On one level, they tell us things. On another, they are here for us to use as tools. Beyond this layer is not some world ruling ours. It exists alongside of us. It is supportive and benevolent. And just like we can visit it through meditation, it can visit us. And sometimes it visits us when we're in a state of fear, which is why the angels say, like, fear not, and then it seems like we're in a fucking hellhole. That's not true. That's just our fear. Meaning may just be foundational, but something more expansive than our minds can hold. To us, this is mystery. It's paradox. And like love, we feel it always. And over our life, we create and carve personal meaning out of mystery. That mystery is much needed in life. It is the juice of life. We don't have to always figure everything out. I like to imagine this plasma field and the intelligence we're all connected to is like sunlight. The sun does not choose who to nourish, but its very nature is to radiate in ways that make growth possible. The sun, which is literally plasma and light, is the perfect symbol for this underlying truth, which is maybe why people worshipped it. Personal meaning arises in how we turn toward it or away from it. We are our own worst enemy. Love yourself, knowing you are so loved already just as you are now. 5D, I need a sip of water. Sorry. Okay. 5D plasma intelligence medium. Something finer than information has to exist. This would be intelligence in an even finer plasma, and it is outside time and space completely. Intelligence without form is too abstract to be experienced. So it must condense into information, 4D plasma, to communicate with us and condense into an experience or 3D reality. And we each have our unique experience with this intelligence through information, which explains how all religions and stories come to be true, or come to be. This 4D plasma is the translation layer, and it's been demonized, I've already said that. Just like we are quick to demonize people that have hurt us, like all my ex-boyfriends, forgetting they are people too. I know we've all been there. It has been called the underworld because this layer holds all of our collective fear and trauma. But within that lies the intelligence of who we really are. Joyous beings that are here to play, love, and create, and we're remembering that now. And we are bringing light back to this underworld because more of us are consciously connecting with it. It does not mean a utopia will happen. I'm not a toxic positivity person. We're all human, but it means that we can have an expanded perspective of life, co-create our reality, and live a magical existence as we expand our capabilities as humans. By hierarchy, hello, expansion. No layer, 5D, 4D, 3D, is better or worse. We are also learning from intelligence, but they're also learning from us. They're not on a pedestal, or they don't want to be, in my opinion, that's my opinion, they don't want to be worshipped either. Think about it, anything you worship runs away, or, you know, anything you shouldn't worship anything, in my opinion. Everyone knows what my own problems are. Okay. It is all part of the multidimensional experience of consciousness, and being a human is one facet of a larger conscious experience of an individual. And I think a lot of us are remembering all of our timeline experiences. We can tap into any of these states as humans with the ability to be conscious. I talked about the Native American people having the 3-layered world as well. The upper world was not better, it was just less dense. The human world was participatory, the underworld was energetically intense as a source of power, land of the ancestors, a dream space, but it was not bad. The way to train yourself as shamans did, and we're all shamans, is understanding your personal traumas, nervous system regulation, very simple actually, exposing your limiting beliefs and the stories you tell yourself, and learning more about coherence. This is how you interface with plasma and reality in a harmonious way. We are all capable of being keepers of the fire. Plasma is fire. Okay, this is where I get excited because you might think I'm crazy, but most of you don't. But this guy worked with plasma and had a PhD, so I use him to make me look cooler. So this guy, his name is Dr. Claude Swanson. I think he's not alive anymore. He's not killed though. I think he died naturally. So here's what he said. The Russian scientist Kozyrev described this energy in the 1950s and called it torsion. It is really the same energy that's been known in Chinese science for thousands of years called qi, or prana. The truth is that it is an important force that has been left out of Western science and is the key to consciousness. I read that part before. All paranormal abilities, advanced technologies. He said this though in the 50s. Also makes up the soul. From my research, I conclude that this energy, torsion, is also present in space, plasma, where its density varies from place to place, plasma. It is the essential ingredient that astronomers are misidentifying as dark matter and dark energy. It turns out that the Russian torsion theory explains both kinds of energy and predicted it more than 50 years ago. Its recognition by Western science will solve these long-standing mysteries. The very same torsion is also the key to the technologies of faster-than-light travel, warp drive, which has to do with plasma, and technologies to clean and abundant, clean energy, which plasma also is doing right now. It's cleaning the air and water in the fields of engineering. No one knew that. Swanson also said that there are revolutionary advances in human science, and yet they can only be properly handled if a commensurate advance in consciousness on the part of human being occurs. To handle these new powers, we must be better people, and that means not misuse these gifts to make weapons of destruction. We can only receive these gifts if we're ready to be good stewards and use them properly. Then we can be ready for a glorious new future. I literally just found this guy 2 weeks ago, so it's weird that I've said very similar things. In Star Trek lore, the warp drive uses something called electroplasma, so that's not a coincidence. Hidden in plain sight. So what's funny about him is he was trained in applied physics and also worked with plasma containment for the military and government. So I think he might have not been able to say the word plasma. That's just me thinking that. So yeah, he could not openly frame this in plasma because of his classified work. Given the sensitivity of fusion research at the time, defense contracts, classified programs, it would have been professionally safer to describe these effects as language of torsion or spin-based fields. When you look more closely into the Russian torsion field, there are actually directly associated studies with plasma, complex plasma, bioplasma, suggesting that torsion functioned as a way of hiding plasma in plain sight. The torsion field has been shown to couple to consciousness. It is a higher dimensional field, just like I'm saying, describing additional degrees of freedom absent from Western science today. I kind of already said all this, but if we need more proof, also many of the advanced or exotic technologies discussed in ET breakthroughs are associated with plasma, plasmoids, or exotic plasma states. Ki and prana is a mixture of our consciousness directing this finer plasma, or our energy field. Plasma in physics also is in vortices and double layers and filaments like DNA. It literally is like the original pattern of humanity, and nature actually is very fractal as well. He also noticed torsion fields stored memory, affected time, perception, responded to coherence and intention, and influenced biological systems, aka you can heal yourself. The same things 4D plasma in our biofield is said to do. He also described torsion as a subtle field generated by, I don't know if I feel like saying this, we already get it. Okay. Why learn about plasma? The singularity is emotion. It is not AI becoming conscious, and I'll explain why. I'm sorry if I'm upsetting anyone. Learning, but I can say my opinion too.
That's right. Yes.
Learning about plasma matters because it's the substrate of our future, it's the substrate of reality. As technology moves towards plasma-based systems, and I'll discuss that, we will be interacting with mediums that respond to our coherence. Coherence is such an AI word, but it's like our nervous system regulation is our coherence, your heart coherence, your mind, body, and soul aligned. Basically just being grounded to earth, also having intuition, but like not spiritual bypassing, like being integrated with everything. That's coherence. You guys already know that though. So in the future, IQ or computational speed will not be enough for new technologies. Humans will need to understand their own energy, emotional regulation, and resonance, because plasma does not respond well to distortion, control, or volatility. Intense excitement or numb neutrality do not work, and this has actually been tested with plasma and consciousness secretly, and they just came out with this year, which I'll show you guys. I got invited to a little cool secret thing. Intense excitement or numb neutrality does not work. What seems to work best when working with plasma is regulated, authentic playfulness, being present, curious, grounded, being like a child. This thing, like almost like when you can't know you're doing something really awesome. You kind of have to be, you kind of just have to be doing it, if that makes sense. You can't know how important it is. The singularity is not technology becoming conscious, it is realizing we have to expand our consciousness to create more evolved technology. We will have to know how to meet it in a state of coherence that allows it to work with us rather than amplify our decoherence or constrict our consciousness, as most do now. I love this quote. I think it's about plasma. Someday, after mastering the winds, the waves, the tides, and gravity, we shall harness for God the energies of love. And then for a second time in the history of the world, man will have discovered fire. Fire is plasma. Plasma is love. Makes sense again to me. Sensing plasma. So when they show, beetles sensing plasma, sensing the sun, sensing plasma, antennas, sensing plasma. Antennas are used to sense. Sensing is your olfactory system. Most of you think of smell, which it is, and it's the only sense that is a direct shot to your brain. All the other senses have filters, so it kind of distorts your reality, but smell does not. It actually picks up on vibration and resonance. And in this quantum smell, that's how smell actually works. So we're smelling plasma. I just talked about this. Electromagnetic waves shape plasma in science. What has the biggest electromagnetic? Heart actually meant heart, mind, and soul. It was not. The heart means being in an aligned state of consciousness. You are being here all along. Here, our consciousness can shape plasma the same way as thinking out. This is why there's the observer effect. It is shaped by information in a finer plasma. And once we embody our, and which anyone can do, we are able to consciously intelligence with an even finer plasma that influences reality to co-create our lives into a free will. Reality is not deterministic. Well, it's a bit of both of us, but yeah. I was talking to my friend about this last night. It's like a flower of life that keeps regenerating new realities. So there's a structure to it, but we have new realities. These go from inspiration, primal will, intelligence, and story, finally to our experience as humans. And then, this is why thoughts become things. We have to create, and we have the power to co-create our lived experience in a more conscious way. The reason I say co-creation is because I just stopped jumping ahead. Truth lies in paradigm labels. We are not the only conscious agents participating. There are other beings, other forces, other values. What we can influence is our meaning making, our perception, our intention. We choose how we interpret events. We respond to ego or essence. We choose the state we act, and then we let go. We make mistakes. We refine. We follow that's true to who we are. Those choices enter into feedback with reality. They're not controlling reality. Their reality is participatory. And over time, that participation shapes the kinds of experiences that need us. You can build a future and manifest one from ego, and that looks very impressive, but often feels very hollow. So there's no doubt we can manifest. But if I manifested what I wanted 5 years ago, that would be a disaster right now. So there's something to be said for not manifesting everything. Or you can follow the deeper feeling of yourself, which is patience, which I'm having trouble with, allowing life to unfold in ways you could have never predicted. That is the juice of life. If you feel lost and you can't clearly envision the future, maybe you're not failing, maybe you're right where you need to be. Something completely new is forming that has never existed in any timeline. It is an emergent future, and I think many of us are on this path, especially if your heart feels settled, even if you feel lost, but you kind of know that you're going to be okay. A future that has never existed before cannot be fully imagined ahead of time. It unfolds moment by moment. Buckminster Fuller, I love him. He said, humanity is acquiring all the right tech for all the wrong reasons. Inner fusion. So, in fusion, plasma is sort of shaped by magnetic fields. Instabilities emerge. It's called plasma turbulence. It's just like a row of trucks. One moves, if they're all together, one moves, and they all start moving and building traffic. This is how plasma turbulence forms. Imagine these trucks are your thoughts and emotions. It's not about having positive or negative emotions, it's about being coherent. So when your emotional field is decoherent, life is very unstable. Plasma, it's like a plasma spinning out of control. Once again, we're looking at the dynamics of plasma, applying it to life. This is why nuclear fusion has been so difficult, because when they're stabilizing plasma, they're trying to manage this living thing, and they're trying to force a lion into a cage, basically, the way most of them are doing it right now, which is not ever going to work. Plasma does not want to be forced. She wants to be tickled, massaged, harmonized with. And I'm saying this because the actual company I was with said this. I didn't make that up. The key, though, is not to figure out nuclear fusion. We've been trying to do that for 50 years. Oh, 22 minutes of nuclear fusion. At least not in this class. It is about figuring that we are mini suns, learning how to stabilize our inner turbulence with plasma, which needs to come first. This is how we will channel new ideas, way safer than most of the current fusion ideas right now, to work with plasma in ways that harmonize with the environment. The first step is within. It is learning how these dynamics work within ourselves. Okay. Stress is natural. How we deal with it is not. Stress is actually natural in bubbles and plasma. Your emotional field is a bubble of plasma, constantly in motion, birthing your reality, like sun births light. But they must be understood as energy systems, not problems to suppress. So in popular studies of fusion that are being commercially used, they're suppressing turbulence as emotion, the same way we've suppressed women in magic. Emotional regulation is about learning these principles of minimum and maximum energy efficiency in bubbles, or understanding your emotions are normal turbulence that is information of changes happening. So all emotions are okay. We just don't know how to deal with them really. Just like this is interesting actually, just like a plasmoid in a lab can reform elements based on the path of least resistance, you can do this with information. It's actually reflecting what we humans can do in our body. But you need to be cognizant you're in a nourishing environment as well. When we learn to hold tension with intelligence, we stabilize ourselves rather than bursting our bubble under pressure, our energy field. This is when we begin to channel new ideas, new technologies, new realities, safely and in harmony with our environment. We become wombs of creation. We are expanded enough to hold vast intelligence. We transmute information into what is for ours and the world's highest purpose. So think about it when emotions and information is coming at you, if you can coherently expand to let all that in, you're going to channel and create that for the highest good for the world and yourself in your own unique way. That's why everyone should express themselves. Like what I'm doing, everyone needs to do this in their own way. Not one person is special. Literally everyone on Earth is special and has something very unique to contribute. You just need to express yourself. Okay, sorry, running out of breath. We are all human stars. Cool. Okay. That was cooler when I made it. I was like, oh, this looks really cool. Plasmoids. Plasmoids in a lab. This is slightly boring and then I'll get to more fun. A plasmoid is a coherent, self-contained structure of plasma and magnetic fields. In experimental fusion setups or high-energy plasma labs, they can hold charged particles in dynamic tension. Like a tornado, molecules are moving rapidly, but it forms a stable shape. Therefore, it maintains stability despite extreme energy. And it also enables nuclear reactions. You can transmute elements. They do this in cold fusion. They also may often spontaneously form through self-organization under the right conditions. But I'm going to make this make sense. When scientists attempt to create new elements, they're essentially creating a container stable enough to allow transmutation with plasmoids. So we are living plasmoids. So when you just can't see our thing. When you become emotionally coherent, not by numbing or detaching, but by understanding these energy dynamics, you are forming your living plasmoid. It is a stable zone of a high informational and emotional potential. As a human plasmoid, your body-mind is your containment field, your emotions are turbulence, your thoughts are charged particles, your intention is the magnetic lines, which draws things into you, and your environment is your supportive ambient field. Which matters too, because that's also plasma carrying things, so it matters who you're around. This allows you to transmute incoming information, which can be trauma, memories, emotion, doubt, collective data, into a new output, creative action, insight, healing, invention. So incoming information is like raw atomic potential. If you're unstable, if you're reacting, resisting, if you're overwhelmed, and this is why the world, I'm trying to not be negative. I don't think people are doing this maybe on purpose, maybe they are, but there's a reason, like, if you're not relaxed, it's hard to, channel things coherently as a creative person. So the world, we're very overstimulated. So the most important thing to do, I think, in the morning for us is like ground in ourselves. Okay, so if you're unstable, overwhelmed, this information may scatter or create internal damage, burnout. If your system is stable and aligned, a well-contained plasmoid, you aren't suppressing the incoming data. It's like you're a tornado. Think about if you're a tornado, you're letting it come in and it cohere and it opens to you. And then you reform it through the path of least resistance, the optimal efficient output for your own unique energetic architecture. So this kind of shows how everyone's like their own little magic bubble. So basically, your higher self consciousness and your consciousness are working together in harmony with plasma to co-create reality for the world's highest good, which I've said 12 times. Remember, your higher